Добрий день, пані Ольга.
Good afternoon, Olha. Good afternoon.
Вітаємо вас
Welcome
на другому
at
етапі
the
конкурсного
second
набору
stage of the
урочистої
selection to the High Qualification Commission of Judges of Ukraine.
співбесіду з вами проводить
The
комісія
interview is held by all members of the Selection Commission. Let me briefly introduce all the members of the Commission: Serhiy Verlanov, me, Ivan Mishchenko, Ted Zazhachny, Evgen Mezentsev, Steven Markman, and Robert Brockhuizen.
Я так розумію, що у нас з вами
As far as I understand, we will not run the risk of lack of electricity power outage. But anyway, if in case for some technical reasons we will, for interruption, we will definitely reach you and continue with the interview on some other date, and we will reschedule this in case for technical reasons we cannot have the full interview today. The members of the commission will ask questions. Please give concise answers, and before the beginning of the interview, you will have a chance to present yourself, and you'll be able to tell us about your motivation, about your ideas, your vision of the reform of the judiciary, of the High Qualification Commission of Judges of Ukraine in particular. I have not mentioned that the rapporteurs at your interview are my colleagues Ted Zazhachny and Serhiy Verlanov, so let me give the floor to them. You're welcome, colleagues. Olha, let me start our interview with introducing you. Kinko Olha, born on the 28th of May 1980, with higher legal education, the general work of record in law is more than 20 years. She started with the Department of the State Enforcement Service in Mariupol in 2000, and further she worked as a legal counselor, as a lawyer, attorney at law, and now she works at the Attorney at Law, the Regional Center of Pro Bono Legal Aid in Donetsk and Zaporizhzhia regions. Olha has provided us with the certificate of the command of the official language of the second degree. As the chairman has mentioned, you are given now a chance to explain the motives of your participation in the selection for the HQCJ. You're welcome to do this within less than 5 minutes. You're welcome. Good afternoon, dear members of the Commission. What I can tell about myself is that for 20 years I've been a practicing lawyer. I've been representing the interests of my clients in court. I've worked both with individuals and legal entities, and since 2018 I've been working at the Regional Center of Pro Bono Legal Aid in Donetsk and Zaporizhzhia regions. I think that as an attorney at law, I have this impartial view of the qualities and professionalism and professional skills of judges. And I think that while working with my clients, I've got the experience and the vision of how the society is responding from the moment the person goes to court, over the period of the court hearings, and during the stage of enforcement of court decisions. That's why I think that involvement of the attorney in the work of the HQCJ is an important element. As far as my motivation for participation in the competition is concerned, I must say that when the selection commission started working, I was staying in Germany, And I felt so much nostalgic about Ukraine. I wanted so much to get to make my contribution into the restoration, reconstruction of the country. And that was my main motivation for applying to the HQCJ. And it is the main criteria, the main principles of, in particular, the transparency of this competition and the involvement of foreign experts in it already show that this competition is going to be fair and honest. And the candidates who have applied will be heard not just by the members of the selection commission, but by the public as well, for the people to see who is elected and how he or she is elected. So I think that this will already contribute to the improved trust of the society in the judiciary. And I think that all the procedures are prescribed in the laid down in the Constitution. They follow the European standards, and it was mentioned right at the beginning that we identify ourselves and associate ourselves with European standards and values, and the sovereign nation of Ukraine has chosen this irreversible guideline and will keep going towards the European development vector. So I think that the changes and the reforms are important for our country, and there is the demand in the civil society for such changes. That's actually it. Thank you. Clear? What about this demand of the civil society? What demand in the civil society shows that there must be some changes brought into the judiciary, that the level of trust in the judicial institution should be raised? I think that this is really the demand for fair trial, for independence of judges, impartiality of judges, and the judiciary in general. That is the core thing. And that is guaranteed by the Constitution. And it is the state that should ensure the mechanism of the work of the system, and the judges should just fulfill their tasks. Olha, could you please explain to the Commission why do you think that it is you who should become a member of the HQCJ? If we take into account the fact that you are an attorney at law, a lawyer. So what are the specific features from your experience, your personal traits, your competence? What shall we take into account to make a decision that you would be a good member of the HQCJ? Well, first of all, this is my work experience in the field of law, the period of practicing law. I think that lawyer or attorney at law is the most independent party in this triangle, judge, prosecutor, and lawyer. Of course, lawyers and attorneys at law do not pass any decisions, but they are not subordinated to anybody. As far as my personal traits of character are concerned, I would like to say that all my clients addressed me to have fair trial, and I probably do not support the results of this sociological survey that shows that the level of trust in the society is so low as far as the judiciary is concerned. If you make such a survey among my clients, I would say they would provide you different answers. And that was their only hope. I meant that they really believed that their rights would be restored if they go to court. I am a lawyer who cannot be influenced, because I do this job on an ongoing basis and I'm responsible about my job. And there have been cases when somebody tried to influence me. In particular, these were the representatives of the law enforcement bodies. But anyway, we somehow stood against them together with my clients, and we proved that in case there is a violation or a breach and it was recorded, anyway, you can go to court and get fair trial of the case. Olha, what is your personal attitude to the current representatives of the judicial staff of Ukraine? Well, I have not faced lack of respect to trial participants, corruption. Maybe there are cases like that, but using some procedural tools, like procedural code and the rights of the parties fixed in the law, we restored the rights of the parties. So your attitude is positive. Yes, I've got positive attitude. Clear. And this is based on your legal practice, right? And you have also mentioned that your clients are also positive about the system, the clients whom you represented in courts. Yes. Okay, let me go over to another topic. So, Olha, some civil society organizations have got a question to you concerning the fact that you have declared only a house in Nikopol, in Mariupol, Ryan of Donetsk region, but you indicate that since 2018 you've been working in the regional pro bono legal aid center in Donetsk and Zaporizhzhia regions, and according to the state portal, you have represented the interests of clients in Donetsk Appellate Court in Mariupol, Donetsk Circuit Administrative Court of Slavyansk, Zaporizhzhia Circuit Administrative Court of Zaporizhzhia, and the distance from between those places is 20 kilometers, and between some other two places also 20, and still to another place 240 kilometers. So the public, the civil society organizations are inquiring how you could be present at all those meetings in different cities if you don't have a car. What alternative means of transport have you been using? And what were your costs over this period, transportation costs? Could you provide any explanations to the Commission? I have not quite understood. Well, the question is about your presence in the court settings. The distance is so large between different court institutions where you represented the interests of your clients. These are different cities. This is the first question. And the second is, what alternative modes of transport you used and what were your costs? Transportation costs. I'm just voicing to you the question asked by civil society organizations. Well, first of all, since, as I've mentioned, I've been working for the regional center, we always have a lawyer on duty. And the case which I considered in the Donetsk Circuit Court is related to my cooperation with Donetsk Regional Center. No, the question is not exactly about that. Let me clarify the question. So it's all about the fact that you have declared your house only in Nikolsk of Mariupol, Ryan, Donetsk region, but the public is asking, since if you are representing the interests of clients in different courts located at a large distance from each other, 200 kilometers, 240 kilometers, and you were going to those courts as a lawyer. So the question is, what mode of transport you used for this, and what were the expenses with transportation costs? Well, but actually, it was my clients that could secure this trip for me if it was somewhere at the distance. And if not, if it were not for the client, then what? Well, then I used the car of my husband or the car of his husband, and the costs for all the tasks I had from the regional center, I took the father's car. So that's what the question is about. You have declared only the house, but the car that belongs, as you have mentioned, to your husband has not been declared. That's where the question comes from. Why not? Why not declare the car that belongs to your husband? As of the date of the declaration, the car had already been sold. You mean that your husband was no longer the owner of that car when you were declaring it all? Good. Clear, thank you. Let me give the floor to Judge Zajeczny. Ted?
Good afternoon, Ms. Kinko. Ms. Kinko, I hope that you understand, and we hope that our viewers understand how much we value the participation of lawyers in our competition. I agree with the statement in your motivation letter that the role of lawyers, particularly those who go to court, can be an important contribution to the work of the High Qualification Commission for Judges. And I can assure you that everyone around this table has been a lawyer. And so we have very real experience with the kind of work that you have done now for over 20 years. However, I carefully reviewed and studied your biography together with your motivation letter and the additional information that we have been provided with respect to your candidacy. I see no indication or report in your biography or motivation letter that you have had any prior interest in the work of the High Qualification Commission. You have had no apparent interest or involvement with the Public Integrity Council. You do not report any involvement or engagement with any of the civil society organizations that concern themselves with the work of the HQCJ. You have not participated in the National School of Judges as a volunteer educator. You have not offered your experience and sought or made an application to be appointed a judge yourself. Therefore, you have not gone through the process of selecting judge candidates that is central to the work of the High Qualification Commission. So I have trouble understanding, except for the explanation you gave that you watched our commission from Germany and you were motivated to make a contribution. I have no indication of any prior interest or experience or involvement that you have had other than being a courtroom lawyer, which I understand, that would motivate you or qualify you to be a member of the High Qualification Commission. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to tell me a little bit more about what you think could be your personal contribution to the work of the High Qualification Commission.
Well, you're right about this, saying that I don't have any experience like this. I didn't work in the judicial positions. I did not apply for the qualification commission, the High Council of Justice, our Public Integrity Council. Well, this was caused by the fact that I've got 3 children, and they have become a little bit older only recently. They can study on their own and provide for their daily needs, and that's why this is the period of time when I've decided to start moving ahead. But I don't see this as a barrier. I mean, the fact that I did not participate in any other selections or in any commissions like this, I don't see this as a barrier. This is just showing that I'm not the person from the system. So this may come as a positive asset. Vice versa, and with my persistence and my responsibility and my professionalism, I could actually contribute to the work of the HQCJ, even in a better way, by sharing my experience during the operation of the Commission.
Have you ever watched or monitored the proceedings of the High Qualification Commission? And are you familiar with the process and the steps that they take to qualify a candidate?
Yes. I've been monitoring this at the level of the prescribed methodologies for the operation of the HQCJ, and I know what's written in the Constitution and in the judiciary, in the status of judges, and on the judiciary on that point. And if there are some messages published by the different commissions as to who is appointed to a certain position, I always monitor this data.
I see. You say that in your motivation letter, one of the issues of the modern judicial system is the independence of judges when delivering judgments. And I would like to invite you to explain what you mean by that.
Well, I mean the cases that are related to subjects of authority, I mean administrative cases. When we deal with the authorities, I don't have any confirmation for that, actually. I don't know how it happens, but it seems to me that in the cases that are related to subjects of authority, well, for some 5 or 6 years ago, courts were not independent. Their decisions really depended very much on the political, well, not political, but on different state programs. For example, there could be traced some formalism in the approaches to rejection, to leaving the complaint without motion. And I think that now the situation has improved a bit. And I would like to tell our foreign experts why there is such a high level of trust in the judiciary. This is all about this category of cases, because they are really the cases where the state can exert pressure on judges. I will not be mentioning any special or specific authorities, but I know from my clients that, for example, people know that their complaint will be, their motion will be rejected, their rights will be violated, in spite of the fact that these rights are granted to them by the law, and they know they will have to address court, but they still hope for fair trial. And in case there is a positive decision in court, after my client goes through all the instances, the state still does not enforce the decision. There is no stage of enforcement. And it's only after several rounds that the client goes to court once again to get a decision in which court already passes the decision. What could be the effective way to restore and to protect the violated client's rights? For an alien observer, it would seem that this case consideration was long-lasting, and it is court that is to blame for that. But in fact, no. In fact, the factors for this are executive authorities, because they don't make analysis why so many people have to go to court with claims, with motions, why the state has to repay the court duty for the consideration of such cases from the budget, but is not performing their decisions. And clients have to wait until this decision is not enforced, a certain period elapses, and they go to court once again. Our task should be to accelerate the procedure and to achieve high quality of it. That's what my vision is.
I understand the frustration, and you're not the first candidate we've had to raise the issue about the enforcement of judgments. However, that is really not any part of the role or function of the High Qualification Commission. It really has no concern. Well, it may have a concern with it, but no more so than you've just expressed. So do you see any role for the High Qualification Commission in the issues that you have just reviewed with me?
I think that judges must become more independent, and that judges should be using the norms of the rule of law, since our country has chosen this European integration vector. And we need to be ready for the situation when judges are actually lawmakers. We cannot have any reverse to the positivism, to normativism. We should be going forward, being guided by the rule of law. And this professional experience can already be seen in the implementation of the practices of the European Court on Human Rights, which is actually the court of justice, primarily, of the rule of law. And the orientation of court decisions on the constitutional rights of humans is important. And I think that both the National School of Judges and the Commission, the High Qualification Commission, should be promoting this direction.
Thank you for your answers. I'm going to turn the matter back over to the lead rapporteur, Judge Verlanov, to ask our colleagues if they have questions for you as well.
Please, Robert.
Yes, sorry. You are now based in Germany, I understand. Huh? Are you working for a German law firm now?
No. Right now, I'm located in Kyiv. I've come back to Ukraine.
Okay.
And now I just try to resume my activity, my work.
Okay. No, I understand. Okay. You describe yourself, as, if I'm not mistaken, as a human rights lawyer. Is that correct?
a kind of a person dealing with the restoration of human rights.
What kind of cases? Because I've read in your motivation letter a case about a tax case. But I would have, it's not my first thought when I think about human rights lawyers, human rights. What kind of cases would you normally handle?
У зв'язку з тим, що я
Well,
співпрацюю з підприємством,
I'm not a human rights activist or human rights lawyer. I just want people's rights to be kept too. I work with tax authorities. I have cases related to taxation. And this is not only about restoration of human rights. It was just the general statement. I normally work with restoration of the rights of people in different types of cases.
But any lawyer, of course, has, when they get the client, they always want their rights restored or they want something to be done. That's what any client would like. But are they private clients? Are they corporate clients? Is it labor law or is it corporate law or is it general practitioner? Are you a general practitioner? Because I have no idea what you do. That's the point.
Let me try to explain then. I did not live in a large city. And that's why I couldn't have any specialization in any specific type of cases. You know, it was difficult in a small town. There were a lot of clients from different fields. These were disputes related to I was servicing companies, and also there were individuals just coming to me and legal entities. So different disputes, commercial law, let's say a dispute between the shareholders of the company and the very company itself. These could also be tax disputes. For example, when I had to protect the clients and their interest in tax authorities. So really different types of cases. And this is caused by the territorial place. I know, I just lived in a small town and you could not take one specialization and have enough work. It was necessary to combine.
It doesn't matter, of course, but because what we would call, or I would call this a general practitioner. You do the case that comes in front of your nose. It may be, let's say, from a divorce to labor law to a rental problem to a corporate problem to anything. Is that what it is?
Yes, you're right.
And would you always go to different courts? Would you, for instance, also go to Kiev for court hearings, or you would always be locally go to courts?
Well,
Due to the fact that now we have this electronic e-court system, now in the video conference call mode, you can actually attend court hearings anywhere, file suits and
Yeah, of course
do
you
this.
can, but the question is whether you did. Did you do local cases or did you do cases all around Ukraine?
Well, I cannot say that I covered the whole of Ukraine, but suppose if it was about the cassation instance or about the Supreme Court, then yes. I mean, the cassation court within the Supreme Court or the commercial court within the Supreme Court, it's located in Kyiv, or the appellate court of Kyiv region. So yes, I had to go there. I have such experience.
Okay. So you have general experience as a lawyer. Do you have any experience in the selection of people?
Ну, в комісіях я не працювала, але
I have never worked in the
те, що я
commissions, selections commissions, but you know, I mentioned that I was a legal counselor for companies
час, коли ми приймали
and I serviced companies. So when people were being hired,
тести відповідно,
we had to develop some tests to check how competent they were, and we were considering their motivation letters or their work record, how held interviews. So in a way, yes, I have got this selection process but experience, but it's not a large-scale experience, I would say.
How many times have you done this?
я працювала
Well, I can't tell you exactly, but I worked for 3 years
на підприємстві.
at the company.
Час від часу ми таким займалися.
And from time to time, we had to deal with this procedure. I cannot exactly count the number of times, but maybe 10 procedures like that, maybe a little bit more.
Це не було кожного.
But that was not on a daily basis, of course.
Good. Because the question is that this whole commission is set up that the people in Ukraine, the judiciary, the foreign sponsors of Ukraine have trust in the selections of judges that will be made by the HQCJ. And when I listen to you, you have quite a limited experience in making those selections. So why would we select you then? Is that a good idea if you look at it from our position as foreigners who come here to make sure that the commission consists of people who know what they do?
Ну, я вважаю, що досвід
I think that
в суді, і коли ми
the experience of working in the court, in particular when we work in a team within this triangle, lawyer, prosecutor, and judge, is also a very good experience of teamwork, because we are all guided by the code, by the procedural code and its requirements. We try to comply with them. We try to make the parties comply with these requirements. So we listen to the parties, we make analysis. So I think that this experience would also contribute to the work of the HQCJ. Probably it's not yet a joint body, but it's teamwork. And I work with people. I've got this understanding of how to do this, and I think that I can cope with this task.
Sorry about this.
покладені на мене зобов'язання.
Stephen.
My turn. Ms. Kinko, thank you very much for your participation. Appreciate it very much. Ms. Kinko, you are not a judge. You are not a professor. You're not a high government official. You're not a Kiev lawyer. You're not a public integrity council staff director. But what would be missing without you? A lot would be missing on this commission without someone with your background, I suggest. Tell us what would be missing without you.
Я не зрозуміла, можна повторити?
Could you please rephrase your question a little bit to
I don't
clarify?
think I can rephrase it better. I'm telling you what you're not. Judge Zarzechny has told you what you're not. But what are you? What can you bring to the commission? What is the nature of your practice? What is your expertise? Where does your energy go every day as an individual lawyer? What is it that you have to contribute to the commission? I think there's a great deal you have to contribute to the commission, but you have to tell us.
Ну, я як адвокат, я бачу
Well, as a lawyer, I see how judges work. I can assess their professional competence and skills.
Why is that?
I can assess their
can you tell?
qualities.
Let me introduce. How can you tell what kind of judges are necessary to be selected? It has something, I assume, to do with the number of judges you've argued before over the years. Is that right?
Yes, this stems from my experience of meeting judges as part of my practice, but there is also a methodology prescribed by legislation. There is a methodology of assessment, there are stages and criteria specified, criteria devised both by PIC, criteria of assessment of integrity, and we can find them in the Bangalore Principles, in the Code of Judicial Ethics, in the Constitution of Ukraine. And I believe that while assessing the qualities of future judges and candidate judges, we need to do a comprehensive assessment of their professional activities, their lifestyle, their moral qualities, which can be seen from their dossier and all the information available to us, as well as the different checks conducted by the Qualification Commission.
But I have to ask you what I just asked you a few moments ago. Judge Zarzeczny is right as to what you are not, but what are you? Explain the variety of your experience. I mean, you get up in the morning every day and you have cases of every conceivable kind, don't you? You don't focus on one single case. You may not have expertise in this matter or that matter, but you have expertise in many matters, many areas of the law, do you not?
Yes, that's true, absolutely true. I agree with you. I have
Well, if
this
you agree with me,
experience
you
of
better
dealing
speak- you better
with
speak
different
quickly.
categories of cases. I have the experience of working with trial court judges, and I believe that at least recently the judges have been following the principles of the rule of law. They have complied with the principle of independence. Well, knowing some of the judges, I have examples of who the good judges are. Some years ago, we've had this tax case, and when we went to the appellate court, the rapporteur judge of the appellate court analyzed 8 volumes in preparation for that hearing, and she reported impeccably on that case. And she reported to all of the parties, and everybody was able to understand her judgment because she used very simple language. And when you leave a courtroom after a hearing like that, you do realize that you just met a professional, somebody who is not just professional, but who also has respect for the parties. And in such a way, you understand that these professionals can be examples. And I can provide you with a number of examples like that. When it's a case heard by the Kyiv Appellate Court, when we have evidence, we have legal positions, we have our own position, and the panel of judges is able to hear us and they make a just decision, then we have trust in the judiciary. And these are the types of judges that should be followed as examples. These are the judges that the future HQCJ members should be selecting. These are the examples against whom we should be comparing the others.
And so these are among the things that you have to contribute to this commission. Is that correct? This perspective is among the things you have to contribute.
Ну, в тому числі,
Among other things, yes.
а також
Well, what are the other things? You say among other things, right?
так, і я вважаю, що і моя наполегливість, і
I think my persistence as well, me being responsible about my duties, I think all of this may be a contribution to the work of HQCJ. Plus, I can communicate to the members of HQCJ the information about how the parties to the process are being perceived. I can communicate to them about how the parties to the procedure perceive professional competence of a judge of their integrity.
But you've never argued before the Public Integrity Council. You've never been involved with the staff of the Public Integrity Council. How could you possibly contribute to this commission without having made those kinds of presentations?
ну, з одного боку це складне.
Well, on the one hand, it's a difficult question. I don't have the experience, but the PIC members
Особи, які
are people
мають стаж,
who
мають
have
стаж в сфері права, але
the experience in the field of law or who have some professional achievements. They are selected by civil society organizations and
визначили, да,
according to the criteria set out.
ретельно описані.
And the criteria of integrity are described in quite a detailed way. I have no experience of interacting with PIC or being its member,
But you have experience in arguing before other judges and other courts on 101 different things, don't you?
Так.
yes, of course.
And your motivation may have something to do not just with your children, but with your husband's circumstances, and it may have something to do with your country's circumstances, and it may have something to do with the variety of judges that you argue before, right? Okay.
Те, що відбувається зараз у
The circumstances
суді жахливі.
in my country are horrible,
Я вважаю, що люди наші, вони
and I believe that our people are
захоплені.
unbreakable.
What is your husband doing?
Ми бачимо,
What? Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you. And thank you for participating.
Доброго дня, пані Ольго. Моє прізвище Мізинцев.
Good afternoon,
Хотів
Olga.
вас уточнити,
My last name is
декілька
Mezentsev.
моментів пов'язаних, вірніше, один момент
So I
пов'язаний
would like to
з вашим
ask you a number of questions with regards to your declaration. So the Commission paid attention to some property with the area of 400 and 200 square meters with the value of some 3,000 and 5,000 hryvnias. So is it the estimated value, the value upon purchase, value according to title documents? So this seems to be very low value.
як я поясню,
Well, let me explain.
ці приміщення, по-перше, вони знаходяться
these premises are located on the occupied territories. I did not ask you about their location. We are discussing the value.
Вартість така зазначена в ідентифікації.
The value like this was mentioned
Фірма продавала за
based on the documents,
податок на нерухомість.
appraisal document, and the agrarian holding that was selling the premises indicated it in the documents. Yes, so that's the value taken from the documents,
Вони
the title documents.
дуже
Треба
погано
більше нічого
стані.
пояснювати.
Yes. The condition of the premises is very bad. No. You don't have to tell us about that. In your motivational letter, you've noted that among the concerns that we may have is that in 2004, there's been criminal proceedings initiated while you're working at the enforcement service with regards to negligence. Could you please tell us about the circumstances of the case and the outcome?
Ну, я вже обставини справи саме формулювання вже не згадаю.
Well, I don't really remember the exact formulation of the circumstances, but I will try to. It was back in 2004, after the revolution, after the Orange Revolution, and there was a demand from, a request from law enforcement
Щодо посадових злочинів, так?
to develop some indicators with regards to workplace crimes. So we've had executive proceedings involving two companies
Діяльністю і між
which were working in the same area, and there was some dispute between the two companies. And as far as I remember, at the time, commercial courts
приймали накази, з яких спочатку
received orders where we first had charges from the settlement account indicated, and when the enforcement officer was checking availability of funds on those accounts, then they returned something. No, the enforcement officer or the party could apply for a different procedure of charges being informed. So the procedure of settlement could be changed. So the funds could be charged from the company, and the enforcement officer in such a way had a wider mandate.
І це, якщо я точно
Well, if I'm not mistaken, but no, you don't need to give us all the details. Could you please tell us about the outcome? So the case was transferred to the court, and during the court hearing, we were able to prove that no damages
також
were incurred,
і наші постанови,
and we were also
постанов державного виконавця.
able to prove that all of the decrees, all of the decisions with respect to enforcement officer were correct, and the judge was ready to make that decision. But at the time, as far as I remember, the old code was in effect, the old Soviet code was still in effect.
Порушено. Ні, була можливість повернути справу на
It was possible to return the case back for pre-trial investigation. No, not pre-trial, but additional investigation probably. And the prosecutor really asked us in court hearing to agree to return the case for pre-trial investigation so that the decision would be changed. At the time,
Я розумію. Давайте ближче до теми. Ви повернули
we didn't want to have this
повернув справу на
conviction. So, yes, the case was transferred for pre-trial investigation. Yes, there was the decision made on initiation of proceedings. So,
про порушення справи.
the decision was cancelled. Yes. Okay, that's clear. You're being long-winded in your answer. You could have been more precise.
Пані Ольго, припустімо, що ви призначені
Well, Olha, let's assume that you are appointed as member of HQCJ.
І перед вами будуть поставлені декілька ситуацій,
And
які
you
будуть
will
безпосередньо
find
пов'язані з
yourself
вашою роботою.
in some situations connected to your work. So let's imagine situation number one. So you have candidates participating in this selection. Some of them may be regular citizens and others may be soldiers, the defenders of Ukraine, who defended Ukraine with arms. Do you believe that veterans should be given some preferences if they participate in competitions and selections? It's not foreseen by the legislation.
Преференції ветеранам.
There are no preferences prescribed for veterans.
Законом не передбачені.
It's not foreseen by the law.
Конкурсна комісія
I believe that there shouldn't be any preferences. Okay, we have another situation. So, in order for you to assess a candidate, you will receive some materials about qualification assessment of a judge. And a judge who is a candidate whom you are assessing has on many occasions posted on social media and on other judicial platforms. So this judge is criticizing the activities of HQCJ, saying there were violations committed during qualification assessment and expressing complaints against you personally, saying you're not a worthy member of HQCJ because there's been criminal proceedings initiated against you. And you have this very negative attitude towards this person. Plus, this person also wants for you to be recused. In your opinion, how do you think? Should you announce self-recusal in a situation like that because you cannot be impartial and unbiased with regards to a person who is criticizing you so severely? And can you announce self-recusal in this case?
Я вважаю, що я не можу так.
I don't think I can announce self-recusal. Okay, no self-recusal, but do you think this is sufficient enough ground for the Commission to recuse you? No, I don't think this is sufficient enough. Okay, thank you. Your answer is clear. Another situation, a declaration of a judge's integrity. So, you have this candidate who is undergoing qualification assessment, who in their declaration for the previous year, in one of the sections, if you know about it, there is this section, I will not be quoting, but it goes something like this. Have you ever committed actions that could be considered ground for imposing any type of charges on you? And this person indicated, I do not confirm such facts. But while studying the documents received from law enforcement, you will see that for the previous year, during which the person has allegedly not committed any activities that would cause for disciplinary action, and you see that they have on 20 occasions violated traffic rules. Do you think this is a violation in the filling out of declaration? Yes. Yes, of course. Such a candidate committed a violation while filling out their declaration, because these 20 violations already tell us that this is systemic nature of the violations. We're not discussing the number of those violations. The person just said that there were no violations at all. If the there were some disciplinary charges or some other charges, then yes, of course, it was a violation. And they should be dismissed for violating the rules of filling out declarations. That's what you are saying? So the person definitely did not complete qualification assessment then. So I think that in this situation, we shouldn't be assessing only the declaration, but please remember that violations while filling out your declaration may be used as a ground for your dismissal.
Все. Ну, в принципі, ваш основний меседж я зрозумів.
Okay,
Так, давайте,
your key message is understood.
До такого, полегше.
Let me ask you an easier
Щодо
question.
мотиваційного листа.
With regards to your motivational letter, in one of the sections of your motivational letter, while making a specific statement, we will not be quoting it, but you are saying, as an active lawyer and a citizen of Ukraine, you are not saying it using feminative forms. So how do we explain this? Do you not support the use of feminative forms in the Ukrainian language? Yes, I believe that we should use feminative forms, but I was writing this motivational letter while still staying in Germany, and it seems to me that my level of Ukrainian deteriorated at the time. I did not hear many people speak Ukrainian. But you are a woman, you're writing on your behalf, but for some reason you're using masculine forms.
Але підтримуєте введення фемінітивів на кшталт
But you do support the use of feminitives in the Ukrainian language. Female minister, female member, female lawyer, female candidate. But we are already using these forms. Yes, we are, because that's the rule of the Ukrainian language. Yes, thank you. That's all from my side. Mr. Chair, you're welcome. Thank you.
В мотиваційному листі ви зазначаєте,
In your motivational letter, you are stating that one of the problems of current judiciary is the independence of judges while they're making their decisions. So you make this conclusion that identifying the ability to be independent in future candidate judges is essential. How do we do that?
Це дуже складне запитання.
It's a very complicated question.
Оцінювання кандидатів,
While assessing candidate judges,
їх сенсі професійної
I think that we need to assess both their professional competence, their moral and ethical qualities.
стійка, так, їх
We need to see whether the person is consistent in their views. We need to assess their lifestyle.
висновок.
And this assessment will inform us as to whether
Не буде, а краще сказати, що він має надію бути незалежним.
as to whether there is hope that this candidate will be independent.
незалежність це мати власну точку зору.
Independence means having your own opinion and being able to support it. I do believe that it is very important for a judge. But how do we establish that? Whether the judge is independent or not? And how can we measure the risk of him potentially becoming not independent in the future? In the same way as he was during the stage of reviewing their documents. Should we involve a psychologist maybe?
Професіограмності.
Maybe the professional portrait of a judge should be used.
Вже вчора обговорювалися
Yes, it was already discussed
Вищої ради правосуддя,
during the session of the High Council of Justice
Державної антикорупційної
when they were discussing the state anti-corruption program, the recommendation of the
професіограм
Venice Commission professionograms with regards to judges and members of PIC.
наприклад, застосування поліграфії.
I support the use of polygraph testing or the use of some tests.
Під час вирішення
but I don't know whether this is going to be decisive in our decision, but we can take these things into account.
Неодноразово у запитаннях моїх колег звучало про те,
On
що
many
у вас є
occasions,
досвід,
my colleagues have told you that you have this versatile experience of working with different types of cases, criminal, administrative, civil. So what is your favorite category of cases and why?
Ну, мені більше подобається виходити.
I prefer commercial cases
Це процеси, які
and commercial law because
стосунки між підприємствами,
these are the processes that reflect the relations between companies, and it's more understandable for me, but
під час здійснення захисту
While
кримінальних справ
defending my clients, I'm also dealing with criminal cases. That is something that I also like.
що має починати новосформований
What
ХКС?
should the newly created HQCJ start with? With the issue of transferring of judges, completion of qualification assessment, or selection of new judges? What should be the priority? Or do you have another answer to this question? I believe that if we take into account the situation in the country and the fact that some territories are occupied, we need to settle the issue with vacancies and transfer of those judges that should be transferred. I believe that the President of the Supreme Court is responsible for that. This is a pressing issue. Plus, we need to finish with the qualification assessment of those judges who have not yet completed it. I was watching the interviews, and I remember the number of 400 judges of appellate courts and some 3,000 judges of trial courts. And I think that our courts currently have a very heavy workload, which is a disadvantage. And because we have so many vacancies, the judges are working under very difficult circumstances. Plus, we have these blackouts, and it seems to me that they don't even go back to their home at the end of the day. They just stay in the court.
фінансування, звичайно, займається внесок бюджет, але це теж
I think that is also something that was
державної стратегії, державної
discussed as part of the state anti-corruption program, the issue of budgeting, the issue of financial support.
теж незалежністю суду.
And this is also another facet of the independence of judges and courts. The judiciary should be functionally capable. That's clear. Thank you.
З одного боку, є кадровий голод.
So, on the one hand, we have many vacancies.
Одним з інструментів
And one of the instruments to solve this problem is to complete the qualification assessment.
Але якщо в процесі кваліфікаційного
But
оцінювання
if in the process of qualification assessment,
приходите до висновку,
you
що
personally arrive at a conclusion that this or that judge has issues with their integrity,
судді, в якому цей суддя наразі
But
знаходиться, судді не вистачає.
the court where the judge is currently working needs more judges. And if this judge is unsuccessful with their qualification assessment, it means that there will be problems for this court. For instance, there won't be enough judges to administer justice. So what is more important?
Найважливіше якість.
It's important to have quality.
Тобто на аргумент про те, що ви позбавитесь
So, if you will hear an argument that the court will be stripped of the opportunity to work normally, you will respond to that how?
Добор суддів перше.
We need to first ensure the selection of judges,
Кадрове
and that will help us settle the issue with lack of staff.
про те, що суддя не доброчесний.
If there is an opinion of PIC that the judge lacks integrity, it means that we cannot appoint this judge and give him mandate because he doesn't have integrity.
Продовжуючи тезу свого
So,
колеги, він чи вона?
in continuation of the question of my colleague, judge he or she? It doesn't matter, he or she.
Дякую. В мене більше запитань немає.
Thank you. I don't have any more questions. How about our other colleague, Stephen?
I have one more question. For those people who are indigent in the Donetsk and Zaporizhia regions, you are truly a human rights defender, as you say. Is that not correct? You are truly a human rights defender for indigent and poor people in those regions. Why is that? Explain that to me, please.
Я не зрозуміла, чому корінних
I did not understand why you mentioned indigent people. What is the question about? Why are we protecting the interests of indigent residents?
Indigent means poor, right? I'm saying you are truly a human rights defender for indigent persons in those regions, are you not? I thought that's why you used the term human rights
Ми
defender.
захищаємо інтереси
I'm sorry?
правозахисниці. Так.
Yes, human rights lawyer. Yes, but it's not just about indigent people in these regions, but there are also
I'm saying,
very many other people.
I was saying when you work for the Legal Aid Society, you're representing indigent people, are you not? You work for the Legal Aid, the Regional Center for Free Secondary Legal Aid.
Так. Так, зрозуміла.
Yes, yes. I finally understood your question. Well, not necessarily indigent. One of the criteria for getting this free legal aid is being indigent, but there are several criteria. But if we are talking about criminal proceedings, these are all people. If a person has been apprehended, they have the right to free legal aid, and a lawyer should show up within an hour from the moment that they have received commission. And it's not just about those people who don't have money. So lawyers who provide free legal aid are paid from the state budget. And I'm saying that the regional center in Donetsk and Zaporizhia Oblast is doing this job on the level with the clients who can already pay for the services of a lawyer, with respect to attitudes and protection of the rights of these people on the same level.
Thank you, Ms. Kinko.
Do we have any other questions? There are none. So, Olha, towards the end of our interview, you are given the floor to summarize your answers, to maybe add something, clarify something. You are given 2 minutes. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this interview. What I would like to tell you is that recently many of us have been discussing the enhancement of the level of trust in the judiciary, for it to be on the same level as it is with the armed forces of Ukraine, because people serving in the armed forces, they forget about their personal interests and they are defending the independence of our country. That is why I think that when the judiciary and the legislative government and when the executive government forget about their own interests, when they become fully committed to the restoration of our country, I think that we will be able to achieve the results that we are expecting. Is that all from your side? Thank you. Yes. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.